as to the RSPCA. We've told you about the fines and so on. We'll have to wait to see what the authorities decide to do in terms of any prosecution. But beyond that, has the club done enough? Has he done enough?
I would have liked to see, from the club, I think they're very commercially driven in their behaviour, and to a certain extent I understand why. From him, I would like to see a genuine remorse, public and community service, you know, or if needs be, some courses that will help them understand why that behaviour was wrong, and to really give assurances to the public that that isn't going to happen again behind closed doors, because quite frankly an apology written by his press officer means very little.
Lily, thank you. I want to bring Tony into the conversation, because Tony, you take a different view on this.
Yes, I do. I'm slightly worried about it from the point of view of the children, because this is allegedly a one-off, and this is going sort of viral, and he's apologised, which is more than some of our major politicians can do, and I think eventually there might be some redemption for him. He might even end up working...
In a quarter of a mile, at Western Perimeter Road roundabout, take the second exit onto Western Perimeter Road.
And maybe, yes, it's good that the fine is going to animal charities, and I expect...
Well, I'm not sure it is. There was a suggestion from a listener that it should.
On LBC,
Right.
that the fine was going to...
Okay, I may have missed that. I stand corrected if I've missed that. We'll look into it. I'm not here to disagree with you, Tony. What I do want to ask you is, in terms of him playing for the club, should that carry on?
Exit the roundabout onto Western Perimeter Road. In 200 yards, at the roundabout, take the second exit onto Airport Way, A3113. Exit the roundabout onto Airport Way. Continue on Airport Way for half a mile. In a quarter of a mile, at the roundabout, take the fourth exit onto the M25 slip road to M4, M40. Exit the roundabout onto the slip road.
What are you supposed to do if they want a house?
Continue for half a mile. 1/4 mile, merge onto M25. Continue on M25 for 1 mile. In 1/4 mile, at junction 15, use the left lane to take the M4 exit to Reading, Slough. Use the left lane to exit at junction 15, then keep left at the fork. Keep left at the fork. Continue on M4 for 1.5 miles.
Now he's been fined £250,000. By the way, Tony, just before the news, was quite right. I was quite wrong. I'm looking in detail at the club's statement. The player has immediately accepted the fine, which will be donated to animal welfare charities. So sorry, Tony, you were right. And I also want to pick up on one of Tony's themes, which is, and we're getting some text to this degree too, saying, of course, the cruelty was wrong. But as some listeners are saying to us, look, we have political leaders lying to us all the time about enormous issues of public health and so on. This man he's apologised. He's not pretending something didn't happen. He's been fined. So leave it. What about you? 0345 6060973. We'll carry on the conversation throughout the programme. I want to talk now about something related to a topic we've talked about all the time in recent months and will again, energy prices. Nuclear fusion, a process different to the type used in today's nuclear power plants and the type of reaction that occurs in stars, has often been talked about as a potential cheap and clean energy source.
In 1/4 mile, keep right to stay on M4.
In the development of nuclear fusion. Malcolm Grimstone is a senior research fellow at the Energy Department at Imperial College London. Welcome, how are you?
Hi, it's good to see you.
What is it they've done?
So, over many years now at this...
Keep right to stay on M4.
We've been testing the physics of whether you can actually make nuclear fusion happen. And over those years, we've been getting further and further towards a resounding answer to that question, which is yes. So this is another step down that period. They've now got fusion occurring for 5 seconds. Doesn't maybe sound terribly much to you and me now. But in terms of the science, that's an enormous step forward. Demonstrating the physics is only really the first step. You then have to demonstrate you can build a machine to make electricity out of this phenomenon. given that you're running it at something like 200 million degrees C, which is about 10 times the temperature of the surface of the sun, give or take a warm afternoon. It's a process that we don't do very often, as it were. And you have to then show that you can capture the energy in this enormously fast particle that's coming out of it. So the next stage is to build, they're in the process of building an international project called ITER, which will demonstrate the engineering. That will be a power machine, which Jet never was. And then you have to demonstrate the economics. So they're hoping it will be commercialised by 2050, to give you a timescale.
So it's not going to help our winter fuel bills this year.
That's certainly not the case. There was a joke for many years that fusion was always 40 years in the future, wherever you are in history. That seems to be very much less the case. There have been, as the news today, there have been some very, very concrete moves forward that increase our confidence that in due course this could well be an important source of energy.
Given all that context, how excited are you about this?
I've always been a bit of a nerd for fusion. As you mentioned, it's the energy of the universe. It's why we have solar power, is because the sun is a massive fusion reactor. And as I say, it's not so much getting it to happen on Earth, but how do you maintain something at that temperature? You can't keep it in anything solid, because it would simply touch the sides and lose all its energy immediately. So part of the excitement of the physics is developing what they call magnetic bottles, which are huge magnetic fields that hold the material in place, and that's been demonstrated at the Joint European Tourist Jet near Oxford. But yes, anything as exciting as the energy for the universe and harnessing it on Earth, I'm tempted to say who wouldn't be excited by it.
Malcolm, thanks so much. Malcolm Grimston, Senior Research Fellow in the Energy Department at Imperial College London. Kathy is in Southend. Kathy, welcome. What do you think of Kurt Zuma and all of this?
Hello.
Hi.
It's my first time calling.
Well, you're very welcome.
I'm a bit nervous.
What do you want to tell me?
Well, I find it really, really quite difficult to understand how people can get really upset about a pet that's being abused and things like this, but still go out and buy their chicken and their beef and things like this, and not really think about the abuse that animals go through to go onto their plates.
In 2 miles, at junction 6, take the A355 exit to Slough Central.
I don't want people to go and watch slaughterhouse footage or all these videos that show all the abuse that animals go through, but it's really hypocritical that you get upset about one animal but not another.
Well, you know, the argument that the animals that are eaten are treated humanely and as kindly as possible. You know all of that, Kathy. You respond to that.
Sure. Well, they're not. You know, people say, oh, well, I only eat from local farms and everything else. Well, every farm is local to someone. They get treated absolutely appallingly. And, you know, you've got to think, would you take your dog or your cat to a slaughterhouse to be put to sleep if it's that humane? Probably not.
Well, I know farmers would argue with you. Can I ask you, Kathy?
Yeah, they would. Can
I ask you about what happens to this particular footballer, this particular club? Or maybe you don't care, but sorry, I don't mean you don't care, but you actually think that the point you're making is way more important.
Well, obviously I think that's important because I think all animals are important. I don't really watch football and I don't know who Kurt Zuma is, but I think maybe if he showed that he was very sorry by maybe volunteering at an animal shelter or things like that. Obviously he's been fined a lot of money, but that's probably pennies in comparison to how much he has in the bank. You know, to be able to go and show that he's actually sorry about what he's done, and then he sort of moves on, and the club moves on, and everyone moves on from it, but actually learns from it, and maybe takes something away from the abuse that animals suffer, and do something about it themselves.
It's good to hear from you. Are you glad you called in for the first time?
I am, yeah. I listen to you not you personally, but I listen to LBC every morning from about 5:30.
In a quarter of a mile, at junction 6, take the A355 exit to Slough Central.
Sometimes I shout at the radio a bit what he's got to say, but sometimes he makes
makes me laugh a lot.
Me too. Kathy, good to hear from you. Thanks for calling in to me. Here's Nick in Croydon. Hi, Nick. What do you say?
Hello there, Eddie. Good evening to you.
Exit at junction 6.
Fabulous. Why on earth West Ham played him last night? I mean, for all the posturing that football clubs do about...
In a quarter of a mile, at the roundabout, take the third exit onto Tuns Lane, A355.
Chanting, the wrong chanting, for example. I mean, I was at Spurs Saturday night, and if I chanted the wrong thing, I was facing a live band from the grounds. And football clubs make great play of, pardon the pun, of this virtue. But Zuma is filmed doing this. He's fined a quarter of a million pounds, but he's still got north of £6 million a year for the rest of the time. So forgive me for not feeling too sorry for him. No, for the football clubs need to back up when they need to. And
So what's the appropriate punishment then?
I ban him for the rest of this season, and much like Cantona was years and years back. Give him a 6-month ban, suspend him without pay, because there's got to be a consequence to it relative to his standing.
I mean, I'm reading on the Sun's website, they're not the only ones reporting this, I don't think, that he won't feature in the Premier
Exit
League
the
or
roundabout onto Tuns Lane.
Sunday.
He
But
should feature for the rest of the season.
right.
Because there should be an example. If you're a
In a quarter of a mile, slight left towards Sippenham Lane.
Film stars and pop stars, etc. They are role models. Well, okay, fine. It goes with the fact checks and the lavish lifestyles. But okay, when someone trips up, there's got to be a consequence equivalent to that role. And I find with Kurt Zuma, I'm astonished West Ham played him, and I'd be amazed. I'd like to find out.
Slight left towards Sippenham Lane.
West Ham supporter himself. You know just how the crowd feel about him. I wouldn't want him at Spurs. I'm a Spurs supporter. I wouldn't want him at Spurs.
Continue for 1.5 miles.
Some punishment fit for the crime.
Hey, what if they transfer him to Spurs?
Oh, no thanks. No.
Okay, the offer was there, Nick. I'm sure Ian will tell us. I want to hear what Ian thinks about it too. And also, this is Karen, who's a West Ham fan. In fact, a lifelong supporter of West Ham. Zuma needs to be sacked. I've supported West Ham all my life, but if they don't sack him, I will take my support elsewhere. What about you? What's your perspective on this? 0345 60 60 973 646. Tim has the headlines.
The Met Police say they will review a decision not to look into a Christmas quiz held at number 10 during lockdown. Boris Johnson says laws requiring people in England to self-isolate if they have COVID could be lifted 2 weeks tomorrow. Adidas has dropped its sponsorship of West Ham player Kurt Zuma after a video was posted online of the defender kicking and slapping his pet cat. The weather, occasional rain in the south tonight, cold further north with wintry showers and gales, hill snow in Scotland and a low of freezing.
LBC Travel, I'm Dave Goff. It's slow on the M1 southbound at junction 8 for Hemel Hempstead after an accident earlier on, but all the lanes are open now. It's also slow on the M1 northbound towards junction 8 for Hemel Hempstead after a car broke down earlier on. There are queues in Tottenham. The High Road is closed in both directions between Lordship Lane and White Hart Lane. That's because of the football that kicks off at 7:45. In Lewisham, there are queues on Ladywell Road in both directions at Church Grove. That's because of emergency repairs. There are temporary traffic lights in place. On the underground, there are severe delays on the Northern Line between Kennington and Battersea Power Station. That's after there was an investigation earlier on. There are also minor delays on the rest of the Northern Line. And Balham Station on the Northern Line, that's closed because the escalators aren't working.
Coming up at 7 on LBC, Ian Dale.
So you've had 2 hours on LBC all about the negative effects of Brexit, so let's spend the next hour providing some balance. What are the benefits of Brexit?
Ian Dale on LBC.
You there, working in bed.
Yeah?
You could be finishing that presentation in the park.
It's 3 degrees.
Ice cream with us, Sarah. Imagine. Raspberry Ripple in one hand, Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra in the other.
But I want to add cat gifts.
Just a lazy flick of your S Pen.
Oh, meow.
Get back out there with the Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra. Pre-order yours at Samsung.com and grab some epic Galaxy Buds Pro on us. Purchase by 5th of April and claim on website within 60 days of receipt. Terms apply.
Call Eddie Mayer 0345 6060 973. This is LBC.
It's Goshen, a long way clear, just this final hurdle to take. Can she do it? The four-timer is on. Annie Power and Ruby Walls clear as they turn into the home straight. Annie Power.
Neither of these horses actually finished. If your horse doesn't finish for any reason, you get a free bet back. Available every day of jump season. Carlo.
18 plus UK and Ireland online and phone applies to first real money single win each way bet of £1 or €1 plus per race from ATM and selected race days. Max £110 free bet per race. Full T's and C's at coral.co.uk. When the fun stops, stop.
It's estimated that 1 in 10 children will experience sexual abuse before they turn 16. That's equivalent to 3 in every classroom. Most children won't tell anyone at the time. But there are signs to look out for. Has your child become more withdrawn or started acting differently? They could be trying to tell you something's wrong. To learn more about the signs and find further support, visit stopabusetogether.campaign.gov.uk.
Hey business types, listen up. There's a whole new way to keep your peeps better connected. Circle Loop, the smart new cloud-based phone system that's easy to set up and use cost-effectively on devices you already have. It works on your laptop or desktop with call forwarding to your mobile, so you'll never miss a call. Work smarter and keep all your peeps in the loop for less. Get your free 7-day trial at circleloop.com. Circle Loop. Now you're talking.
The phenomenon that is Andre Rieu brings you a magical evening full of music and dance with his 60-piece Johann Strauss Orchestra. Andre Rieu's UK Arena Tour comes to London on 18, 20, 21st of May 2022. Book your tickets now at andrerieu.com.
Does your cleaning contractor help to protect your workplace against viruses for up to 28 days? If your cleaning contractor is ice cleaning, the answer is yes. Ice.
In 300 yards, turn left onto Buckingham Avenue.